Yo, 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 welcome to another edition of the GeekyBrosPodcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
This is Big Kumar. How y'all doing today?
And it's your boy Darcy here.
We're missing our bro for another week. Hopefully we'll get him back next week, but he is out exploring the world right now.
No, I think he's away for another week.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah. Well, we still will. Well, essentially the main thing is we miss him, but the show must go on.
100%.
And yeah, we will get him back hopefully eventually. But yeah, so D, how's it going for you today?
Pretty good. It's been an easy week. We saw Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles yesterday. That was pretty great. I don't often get to go out on a Thursday to watch a movie, so was able to break away and enjoy a good time with the bro here. So yeah, it was cool.
Yeah. Yep. And we also went with another friend of mine who filmed our out of the theater reaction for the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So if you go to our channel, you'll be able to find our spoiler-free out of the theater reaction. We will be giving a full review next week to give you guys a little bit more time to be able to watch it, and then for us to talk about it without giving any massive spoilers.
Mm-hmm.
So might as well jump in. T. I don't know why I said it like that, because I'm going to be introducing it. But anyway, so the first bit of our geeky news that we're going to be covering, we have a lot of geeky news. I feel like I'm saying that every week, but I think now, given the writer strike, actor strike going on right now, Hollywood doesn't have a lot of other related news to kind of go through, so they're massively doubling down.
Mm-hmm.
But the first bit of geeky news that we have for today is this week dropped the first trailer for Loki Season 2. Now, for those of you who don't know, Loki was the main villain, also the adopted brother of Thor, and in Chris Hemsworth Thor movies. He was also the main villain in Avengers. They, a couple of years ago, they gave him his own TV series, which kind of really branched off the rest of season of Phase 4 and 5 that we're currently living in. And now the Season 2 trailer has dropped with this being a 6-episode series that's going to be released in October. So I really enjoyed the first series, or I should say the first season. I would say there were a couple of problems I had with it, but it didn't hit the usual MCU TV issues that we were facing for me personally. I would say WandaVision and this and Miss Marvel are my 3 shows that, while with their small amounts of problems, really solid TV. But I'm kind of interested to see, before I go into my full review of this trailer, I kind of want to hear our boy Tactics here, because if I recall correctly, Loki wasn't exactly your cup of tea.
Yeah, and it still remains to be the same in regards to the trailer. But I mean, that's not saying much, because I'm not overly impressed by trailers nowadays, if I'm being completely honest.
Right.
I've said this several times. Spider-Man No Way Home, that trailer didn't really captivate me either, and I ended up loving that movie. It's probably one of my favorite of the MCU movies. So watching this, I was kind of like, okay, yeah, sure, it is what it is. And I've shared my opinions, my views on the MCU shows over the last couple of episodes that we've done of the Geeky Bros podcast, and I haven't been overly impressed. I've enjoyed some of them, but for the most part, they've all just kind of been mediocre in my opinion. And that's just based off of my own personal taste. It has no reflection at all on the quality of the show. The quality is there in a lot of these TV shows. Like Loki is shot really well. The character development is very well done. Loki has a lot to do, and the overall plot that kind of, like you said, it kind of branches off and starts the new phase. So that's all interesting. Depending on how you look at it, it could be a little unfortunate if you're not really into the MCU shows and you just really are more focused on the movies. now it kind of gives you the added extra step of having to now go back and invest your time, 6 hours of your life, into watching watching the series to actually get a understanding of what's going on. And so some people might not really enjoy that all that much, but overall, yeah, there wasn't a lot there that really wowed me. I'll still check this one out, but reluctantly, I would
That
say.
was going to be my next question, actually.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, I mean, I just really haven't been all that impressed with the MCU and what they've been giving us as of late. Like we said last week, I believe it was. I just want something fresh and new. Um, and something that can kind of reignite my love for this property as a whole, in terms of like superheroes and stuff, the way that it did when we first saw X-Men on screen, or first saw Spider-Man on screen, or we first saw like the Avengers collectively on screen. Like that level of excitement, I'm hoping to get back at some point. I don't know if we'll ever get to that point again because of how inundated we are with all of these superhero properties, but if you can give me something fresh and new that can entice me and excite me again, I'd be greatly appreciated. I would greatly appreciate it, is what I'm trying to say. But as of right now, everything just seems very formulaic and very it's like been there, done that kind of thing. And I'm just not seeing anything all that new, and nothing that's really got me overly hyped. The Kang thing, I'll be honest, he's not captivating to me yet as a villain. Like when I saw Thanos, and I know this is maybe a bad comparison. When I saw Thanos, I had no idea who that dude was in Avengers at the end of like when we saw the post credit scene,
Yeah.
and that that shit got me hyped. I was like, I don't know who this guy is, but just the way they set up this scene, he's going to be a problem somewhere down the line. And then they kept on building him up, and I'm like, damn, when is Thanos coming? That's what I'm waiting for, because they're really hyping it up, and they delivered on the hype. This, I'm just kind of like, I don't know. I don't know if it's the multiple Kangs thing that kind of bothers me, because it's like you get attached to one, like I said before, and then they kill that guy, they kill that one off, and then it's a different Kang. And I don't know if that's how it was in the comics, but I'm just not really vibing with this one right now.
Well, also, like, you find out later that that wasn't even what the original plan was for the movie. It was supposed to, like, he was supposed to escape and become the big bad of the series.
Yeah.
And like he leaves like Scott in the quantum realm. And I'm like, okay, well that's the ending that the kind of made like that's what it felt like the movie was gearing towards.
And that would have been cool.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just wasn't like the way and I think you're right, because it seemed like that's what they were setting up, and the way that the trailers depicted Kang in Ant-Man 3 made it seem like he was the main ultimate level threat. And I was like, okay, cool. So as I'm watching Ant-Man, I'm on board with this villain now. I'm like invested, because I'm like, okay, this guy, I feel like he's only giving us like, if it's level 10, if Thanos is level 10, this guy's only at like a level 2 right now in terms of the amount of damage he's inflicting on our heroes right now, and it's only going to get worse from here. So I was invested, and then they basically discarded that character, and then they established the fact that it's a whole dynasty of them, and I'm just like, okay, now I'm out. I'm completely all the way checked out, because like, what's from stopping you from doing the same thing over and over again, where it's like we're constantly being introduced to a different version of Kang? Granted, it's the same actor that's playing him, but it like he's playing it in a different way, where it's like I'm not emotionally invested in this guy, because every friggin' movie he changes into something else. So yeah, I'm not at all excited. Granted, I mean, the Jonathan Major thing aside, I respect him as a actor, and would love to see him in more roles. And if he bodies Kang like he did in Ant-Man, then that's great. But as it stands right now, there's just nothing really drawing me deeper into anything that they plan on doing with Kang, or even Loki for that matter.
So this actually leads me to my question that I'm going to answer myself. But like, when
Right,
you
then why am
saw
I here then? Why am I here?
when you saw Jonathan Majors in the season finale of the first Loki,
Yeah.
what did you think of him as, not as an actor but as a character?
This is the question you were going to answer yourself, or you want me to answer?
No, this is what I'm gonna give myself as well, but I wanted to hear yours. Yeah.
So okay, so the way that they set that situation up, I thought it was just going to be that Kang who, once you kill him, the real Kang shows up. So I was
Right.
okay. I was okay with that because I'm like, okay, this is a temporary Kang. Clearly, what they're doing is they're setting it up so that if this Kang stays alive, then the other Kang can't show up.
Right.
So
That's what I thought too.
yeah, and then the good Kang gets killed. So I'm like, all right, so now they're setting it up for the bad Kang. And I thought that the Kang that we saw in Ant-Man was what they were basically alluding to, which I don't think is actually the case anymore. So
I don't even know anymore.
I was fine with the good Kang that we saw at the end of Loki season 1, because it seemed like they had established that this Kang was temporary, and he was kind of like what was maintaining the balance between good and evil. Once you eradicate the good, the evil comes out to play. And that's where I thought that they were going with that thread. And then now it's just like there's a whole bunch of Kangs that it's like,
Yeah.
I'm checked out. I'm all the way checked out now.
Yeah, like, okay, so to answer it, like, I found that Jonathan Majors' Kang in the first season of Loki, the season finale of Loki, was exactly that, a setup to the villain.
Mm-hmm.
Great setup to the villain. And I was like, I'm all in. Like, I can't wait for it. And that's what I thought Ant-Man 3 was going to have, where we get him and he escapes. And I'm like, okay, so the beginning of the Kang War dynasty, it's all happening.
Mm-hmm.
And what I thought was like the Council of Kang and that Kang are going to be going at it, and we're all caught in the crossfire.
Mm-hmm.
Now I don't know what's going on, which is why I'm upset with the fact that they did a last minute change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It seems like they had a plan when they first started doing these MCU movies. Then they completed that plan, and then it's like, well, damn, now we need a new plan.
Yeah,
that is in line with the first plan, but only better. So how do we do that? And it's like, when you're starting from nothing, it's very easy to make something great. But when you're trying to live up to what you created that was great, that's where the challenge comes in, because it's like now there's something to compare it to, you know? So they're in a tough spot. I don't blame them for the tough spot that they're in, but that's just the way the situation is right now. Like,
for me personally, I will say I loved the trailer for season 2 of Loki. Now, again, I was a big fan of season 1, but like watching Loki season 2, 3 things happened that I liked. One, I love that they showed that Mobius and Loki are working together again.
mm-hmm.
I think that was one of the highlights of first season. Second, I really like the fact that they started showing that Loki's he started to use his powers a lot more. Like in the first season, I kept like one of my main complaints. I'm like, how is Loki this weak? Like he's getting beaten by everybody. And also he never and even in before, he never really used his magic a lot. Like, yeah, he made multiples of himself and shapeshifted, but like that was about it. But in this one, they actually show him like doing shit just in a trailer. I really hope it's not just this. I hope it's like just like a peek of what he's actually going to be doing. But nonetheless, like I'm hyped to kind of see more where this will go. And the third thing is seeing Jonathan Majors. Yeah, like okay, so the scene on the left where Rowena Renslayer is looking for Jonathan Majors' character, and so is Loki, and they all basically find him on stage doing a performance. What I'm really hoping won't happen in this season is kind of what you and I have already alluded to. I don't want to keep liking a version of Kang and then they kill him.
Yeah. Which it seems like that's the route that they're going right now.
Yeah. So I'm really, really hoping that in this season, they do not do that. And we will talk about this later on when we talk about Secret Invasion later on in the podcast. Yeah, like I'm getting close. I'll wait for it, but all I'm saying is I like the look at Loki season 2. Right now, it's demolishing like YouTube records of viewing, which is nice to hear. Like people are still interested in watching Loki, but like this looks like this season hasn't lost its quality of storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
And as long as that doesn't get lost, I can actually be looking forward to this.
I mean, part of me just wishes that we had Netflix running the show on with the MCU properties. And you know why.
I think this is a great time for us to switch. So moving on to our next topic that is very much in line with what Tactics just said. So as people who may or may not know, there is going to be a Daredevil TV series coming on Netflix. So coming on Netflix, coming on Disney Plus.
I wish.
Yeah. Charlie Cox is returning as Daredevil Matt Murdock. It's going to be a 12 an 18 episode season split into 2 parts. Part 1 is going to be 9 episodes, part 2 is going to be 9 episodes. Now, we have been getting some recent, or I'd say like we've gotten a lot of leaks over the last couple of months, but like now we got like enough of a bag of leaks that we can actually talk about it, as opposed to like having one thing to talk about per podcast.
I'm excited because I have no idea what leaks you're referring to.
Okay, so I've taken some notes. Okay, so first bit is that Kingpin is going to be in the show, played by Vincent D'Onofrio. Also, Punisher is going to be in this season as well, played by John Berthel. Yeah. Now we have heard that Kristen, I forgot her name right now, but basically just the woman who plays Jessica Jones, who's in the picture right next to Daredevil. We have heard that she might be returning as Jessica Jones, whether in her own series or in a different series or in this. We have also heard that the actress and actor who plays Karen and Foggy Nelson are not going to be in this series or in this season. However, we have also heard, per rumor, that the reason for that is this series takes place during the blip, just after the snap.
Okay. So they're not written off completely. It's just
potentially not.
Yes. Okay. That would make more sense. But then it's weird because like the Kingpin that we got in She-Hulk is slightly different, even though played by the same actor, Vincent D'Onofrio, slightly different in his demeanor than he was in the Netflix show.
Well, yeah, he was like a Disney version of Kingpin.
But is that all canon, or are they like completely rebooting this thing and just using the same characters for nostalgia's sake?
We're not entirely sure, to be honest.
Okay.
So now additional leaks is for the first part of the first 9 episodes. Sorry, hold on. Yeah, for the first 9 episodes, now I don't know this villain very well. I've only heard of him in an issue that I was reading one time. But the serial killer Muse from Daredevil comics is going to be the main villain for the first part. Like he's going to be like the main antagonist, with obviously Vincent D'Onofrio being like the overall villain, assuming. which also and like the Muse is a pretty sadistic serial killer. He basically like kills people and like puts them in grotesque mutilated works of art.
Which is why I would want it to be on Netflix as opposed to on Disney Plus.
So this is where the last bit of leaks we've gotten. Disney Plus, for the first time, has rated this series TVMA.
Interesting.
And it was said that once it went, the reason for the TVMA rating is because they're trying to maintain the dark and grittiness from the Netflix series.
I'll believe it when I see it, because the last thing I want is a watered down version of the Netflix show. Like, you either give me something on that level, give me that show exactly and have it be a continuation, or don't do it at all. Because yeah, Muse as a villain, I'm not familiar with the character. That's all well and good. Sounds dope as a villain, but this is who I really want, like, to come back. You can't set up on a cliffhanger like what you did in season 3 and then just like be like, oh, it never happened. Like, I don't want that. I want this, and I don't want. Like, the MCU really needs to stop like neutering their characters, their dope characters. Like, Thor, for example. Thor, it was completely watered down. I mean, I was all for like Thor being like comical. Ragnarok gave us the right amount of like badassery plus funny antics, which worked in Ragnarok. Y'all know my feelings on Thor 4, so I'm not even gonna get into that. The Hulk.
Was there a Thor 4?
What's that?
Was there a Thor 4?
There wasn't. You're right. I don't even know what I'm talking about. I'm delusional right now. Thank you for correcting me. The Hulk, another one, another vastly neutered character, and I was just kind of like, oh, okay, what? Like,
the weird. Okay, so the weird thing is, like, with both Thor and Hulk, it's not like they didn't have layered, complex, dark versions of the character beforehand. Like,
no.
like with Hulk, after the first Avengers movie and kind of after the second Avengers movie, they really, really turned him to a comedy like sketch. And I'm like, why? And with Thor, they like with Ragnarok, they made him comedic. But then, like when you had him in Infinity War and Endgame, he was both dramatic, layered, and also a comedic. Oh, exactly. we got a comment from Chris Atari. It makes sense for the TVMA rating, considered Disney did put the Deadpool movies and Logan on Disney Plus in the States a while back. That's a good point. But to be fair, those movies were made by Fox. Yes, they were made like rated R, and yes, Disney Plus is like putting them on there. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're able to give us a TVMA quality that we had in the Netflix series. But
yeah,
like, you're not wrong, Chris. Like that is a good point. Like, it could be them experimenting.
And the thing is, like, after seeing him in She-Hulk, I'm like, I don't know what to think, to be honest.
On that point, the reason why of late they've been making, like, I think so they're trying to distance themselves from the She-Hulk depiction.
Okay. Again, I'll believe it when I see it, because so far with all these neutered characters, I'm not impressed. Like, they're talking about Punisher coming in, but like, what is he gonna do? Is he actually gonna be like dropping fools and like breaking ankles and shit, or is he just gonna be go from the Punisher to the Pusher, where he just shoves people all day? Like, I'm just like, you can't
just violently shoving people
just
around.
violently pushing people, and then that's it. He's like, I don't believe in guns. I solve all my solutions with pushing. So I'm just like, I don't want to see that. I want the same level. Give me something better, or don't do it at all.
Okay. I will say, it sounds like that Kevin. Well, I'm not even saying Kevin Feige anymore, because that's going to come up in conversation when we talk about Secret War. But like, it sounds like MCU people in charge are at least listening to the negative comments and are now you could say that like when a studio is trying to like retcon them stuff to kind of like make up to the fans, that's not a good thing. But this sounds like they're trying to properly prepare Daredevil based off of what has come before and also what people have responded to already. People loved Charlie Cox in his appearance in Spider-Man No Way Home.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
I would say the best parts of She-Hulk, aside from like the first couple episodes, were when Daredevil showed up. Was a kick to his character, but it was a bump up to like the show.
It was, yeah.
So I will say that maybe they're like, okay, we try to do like a funny old school version. People weren't big on it, but people are clearly there is a desire for Charlie Cox and Matt Murdock to come back.
Well, yeah, 100%. Like when all 3 seasons of your show are solid and they just get better and better with each consecutive season, and then what are you talking about, bro?
Okay, I'm just gonna say that the first season was awesome, and I remember almost universally everyone shitting on the second season. And then when the third season came out, everyone was like, "Oh shit, it's on!" Like
I found the second season was.
I love the second season. It wasn't as good as first season, but I loved it, and I will say the best parts of second season were when they let Punisher be Punisher, especially in prison, and when Kingpin showed up. I also liked Elektra too, but there was a little too much drama.
I specifically remember us having this conversation about the Punisher and the Daredevil conversation, and how you and I were both in agreement of how that dialogue was so fantastically done to the point where like this is what Batman and Superman's conversation was supposed to be in not Man of Steel, sorry, Batman v Superman.
Yeah.
Like the dialogue that they had and the dichotomy between the two, it was fantastic, brilliantly written, and they just had so many good highlighted moments in season 2.
I agree.
Maybe it was a minor step down from season 1.
A minor step down.
But as a whole, I mean, the series is fantastic. Absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, I agree. Like I will remember, like there are 2 points in season 2 that's why I can't say that it's a bad series, despite or a bad season. Is like the hand, the foot thing, the hand kind of like it didn't really go the way I would have liked it to. The whole Elektra thing kind of went a little bit too melodramatic. And also, even with Punisher, they kind of elongated it more than it needed to. But like, there are 2 moments that, for me, season 2 just were chilling to the bone. One was when Matt and Punisher are on the boat and they're arguing, and the Punisher's like, "What are you gonna do, Red? You're gonna like take him to prison?" And like Daredevil's like, "My way's not working. Maybe this once." And he like does like this, and he's like, maybe that just this once, we just do it your way. And Punisher's like, no, Red, that's not how this works. You either go in all the way or you don't. You can't just pick and choose. And the second, even though like everything he was in was awesome, but the second was when Matt confronts Kingpin in prison
as Matt, not as Daredevil.
Yeah, as Matt. And like Kingpin beats the shit out of him, and like he punches back, and they're just like yelling at each other.
Yeah.
And I'm just like,
yeah.
So like if Disney has clued in that they need to be more like that, and the fact that all I'm going to say is not that they're going that direction. It sounds like they're at least trying to.
I'll be honest. I have very low expectations when it comes to anything Disney, because again, we had this conversation last week. We were talking about not just the MCU, but the Star Wars. And I'm not a Star Wars fan, but you guys are in agreement that the Star Wars properties as of late aren't up to par with the level of expectation that you guys have for it as a whole. This is as of late. And
I will say, see, the thing is,
that's one show, Umar. That's one show.
That one show though.
They had Mandalorian. I'll give you Mandalorian because even I'm watching that and I'm like, this is dope. But
Andor.
I remember y'all shitting on what was the other one? The Boba Fett.
Okay, yeah, Boba Fett was a waste of time.
There you go. And
Obi-Wan had its issues.
See, but I liked Obi-Wan, but you guys didn't. But I'm not a fan, so it's not really like catered to me. I'm like
okay, so look at that. Okay, all right. So I will say I agree with you when it comes to Lucasfilms that like they're hit and miss. And that goes for the show itself or like, within the show. Because Obi-Wan, don't get me wrong, there's some shit in there that I'm like, oh yeah.
But you don't watch shows for the moments. You watch shows for the entirety of the actual series, right?
Yes.
So you can't just say, "Oh, there was good moments in there." Like that, we said that about The Flash. There was good moments in there, but you're not sitting there saying it's a good show or it's a good movie, which is what the main consensus is. We want to say, and we want to sit there and enjoy the movie and say this was a great film. I had a good time watching it, as opposed to like, yeah, there's some moments in there, it was all right.
But like my man over here, like when he showed up in Obi-Wan.
Yeah, but that's not enough to. I mean, again, I like the show, but I was reading some of the comments that people were talking about, and they were pretty much saying the same things that you guys were saying, that the show was not needed because there was no and I get that there's no stakes because you already know the outcome because it's in between all the movies that have come after it, right?
Hold up. You had some issues with Obi-Wan too. Like, first of all, that chase scene in the first episode, you were calling that out.
One thing. Wow, but I liked it more than you guys did.
Second thing is when they snuck the girl out of the prison, and you're like, how is this guy just putting a jacket over this girl?
Yeah, okay, granted, I it's not without its faults, but it didn't ruin the show for me the way it did for you guys. I just happened to notice some of the bullshit. Like, I'm just like that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, it wouldn't be that challenging. Like, I gotta be careful not.
I know what you're trying to stunt.
I'm just saying, if I'm chasing a little girl, which I wouldn't, it wouldn't be that hard
for tag.
Yeah, not that I'd be playing tag with a little girl, but like,
I mean, what if she's like my kid or something?
If she's my daughter or your kid or whatever, bro. Like, if I'm going if my objective is to catch this little girl, it's not gonna be that hard. I'm telling you that right now. Like, these men were chasing this girl for like 5-10 minutes, and I'm like, bruh, she's running a straight line. She's running in a straight line. You got folded by a bush, bro. Like, go back and watch that scene. For those of you guys, for the 2 viewers right now that are watching this, go back after you finish watching this podcast. Go back and watch that scene and tell me that's not the most ridiculous scene that you've ever seen in your life.
I agree. I will just say that Lucasfilms, the problem is they're trying to keep up with MCU. The problem is, the problem with that is, if you're going to start expanding the universe outside of the main story, then you can't be doing what Obi-Wan did unless you like really, really steer away from the main characters. Like, for example, if he was helping some random friend of his from the past that had like no connection to like Darth Vader and all that sort of stuff, and like he came across an Inquisitor that went missing that we know from the comics. Sure, do that. No one's going to give a shit about that. But it's like Luke and Leia and Darth Vader, and also like a shit ton of other people were involved. And you're like, okay, so we know that all of them are going to be up later. So the only real question is, how far can they go with this?
Not very far. And I think they were probably trying to capitalize on the fact that Darth Vader is probably the most well-known character, and it's a good way to bring back Hayden Christensen.
And he came back awesome.
Oh yeah, for sure. But it's not just Star Wars. It's not just MCU. It's also like the Disney movies, like the live action, like.
Okay, I don't know who said keep doing the live action movies, but like they're not learning from the mistake. But the Pixar stuff
No, definitely not the Pixar stuff. The Pixar
Cool.
stuff are great. I have no issues with the Pixar stuff
Yeah.
because again, it's something new, fresh, and exciting, right? So you go in there, you have no idea, you have no expectations because you're just going in and you want to watch, you want to have a good time. And for the most part, a lot of those Pixar films do deliver, right? From what I remember from a lot of the Pixar films, I've had a good time. I've enjoyed them. But the live action stuff, for example, like now it's, and because we live, for example, they have the new Snow White movie coming out, and because of how woke society has been, they're completely revamping everything. So they're changing the.
There's a Snow White movie coming out.
There's a Snow White movie coming out, but again, because because we live in a woke culture now, they're completely changing a lot of. They're taking a lot of liberties and changing a lot of the original storyline to the point where I'm like, well, what's the point? At that point, it comes to a point where it's not actually even Snow White. It's just, I guess, a retelling, but I don't know. It's just like, I don't feel like the live action things are necessary at this point. We have the original ones. We don't really need a live action depiction, especially if you're going to completely alter the original storyline.
I would say that I'm fine with introducing a representation in retellings of the story for the adaptations. My problem is they're not really good.
No.
Like we're doing like,
well, how's Aladdin for representation, bro?
I can't even.
Yeah.
I can't even. I'm not going down that rabbit hole.
Yeah.
But that like, okay. There have been, some would argue, cosmetic. Little Mermaid, I would say it was fine. It wasn't a bad adaptation, but it wasn't a good one either. It was just fine for me. Beauty and the Beast, my family really enjoyed it. I was like barely okay with it, but like my family really enjoyed it. Jungle Book, I was a big fan of.
Jungle Book, I actually enjoyed.
No, that was a good one. And
I actually enjoyed that one.
Freaked me the fuck out.
Oddly enough, I was not a fan of the original, but I liked the remake. Yeah, the original just never really did anything for me.
All right.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, like I will say that like there have been decent inclusions, but the vast majority of them haven't been.
Yeah, and, but again, you can say that. You can say that with all of them, like MCU, Star Wars. Like there are some good ones in the bunch, but as of late, they're very
MCU. I would not say the vast majority of them have been.
No, definitely not. But like, I mean, even you're contending with me in regards to the MCU of like, I was like, this new phase is complete shit, and you're like, nah, not all of it is complete shit. Like,
okay. So on that note, moving on to our next topic, which is what is it? Yes, I am having a very difficult time with Phase 5 of MCU. It's not going well. And like Maybot said, it's shit. Because Secret Invasion is some bullshit. And you guys all know I was like hella hyped for Secret Invasion. I'm gonna say, don't watch Secret Invasion.
I don't plan on it.
Just don't do it. And like I have never seen the amount of character assassination that has taken place in 6 episodes of Nick Fury. And okay, so my review is this show. If you told me that the executive producer didn't watch any of the MCU films, was just told we're giving you we want you to do a superhero TV series that's like a spy show with shapeshifters. Here you go do stuff with it. And Kevin Feige didn't even look at the scripts, let alone look at this finished product before it went on air. I'd believe you, because this show only works because Nick Fury is a dumbass, like literally a dumbass. And also they undercut his character by saying, oh, by the way, he wasn't as good as you thought because he just had Skrulls doing all his work for him. And now that the Skrulls have defected and want to take over the planet because apparently the show is regurgitating anti-Semitic propaganda from the 50s as their main point for the show. And also they had to dumb down Nick Fury's character and completely make a lot, like they also character assassinated Rhodey because apparently he's been a Skrull since Civil War.
Yeah, I saw that.
So who the fuck was it like at Endgame and Infinity War?
So that means that, because I saw a scene where he comes out of some like cryo chamber and he has no recollection of where he is or anything like that. And that means that he doesn't even know that Tony Stark is dead.
Yeah.
Wow.
Like if you told me he was replaced after Endgame, I could be like, fine, that makes sense. But like, come on. And like, and the Super Skrulls that they made were like, there's one thing about being a Super Skrull, and then they seriously OP'd the Super Skrulls. And they didn't, this is really bad. That's supposed to have massive ramifications. And the whole time, Nick Fury's like, no, I'm not going to call the Avengers. No, I got to take care of this myself, which he doesn't do anyway. And then spoiler warning, they kill her in the first episode.
Seriously?
Yes, and they treated her as a fridged woman. It's like, hey, we killed her, so that means Nick Fury's really on this now. And it's like, are you for real?
Wow. Sounds like she wanted out of her contract. You know how I know that this was like a terrible show, even having not watched it? Because as I was prepping for these shows, and we've talked about this show at least 3 or 4 times, right?
Mm-hmm.
And for those who don't know, I'm the producer of the show, so like I'm in charge of finding all the slides and whatnot. And so trying to find these slides was near impossible, because if you notice, if you go back to our old episodes where we talk about this show, I'm basically using the same 4 or 5 photos, and it's not because I'm lazy and I just don't want to look for. I've actually tried to find action shots for this show, and there are none because nobody seems to give a fuck about this show. So I was just like, all right, you know what? It is what it is. It's going to be the shortest conversational segment in the podcast. So yeah.
But okay. So in the first episode, they fridge woman trope Maria Hill, this fucking right-hand woman of Nick Fury who essentially takes over for him. But yeah, let's treat her as a fridge woman. Why not?
And she's not a Skrull?
She's not. Everyone was hoping for that to be a big reveal that she was a Skrull the whole time. No, she did. Second, let's make Nick Fury and everyone's shit on him, but like, oh yeah, he's too old. He's lost his game. He ran away after the blip and didn't come back. Why? Oh, he just, he couldn't deal with the fact that he wasn't prepped for the snap. So let's do that. Then let's say, oh, okay, yeah, the Skrulls have been feeding you information since the 50s. That's the only reason you became the top dog that you are. And now that they're not working for you anymore, you're shit. Okay. And then let's also let him fall for every single trap that the Skrulls have prepped for him. Let him lose his best friend Skrull, who also didn't so the whole point was the Skrulls wanted to take over the Earth because Nick Fury and Captain Marvel promised that they were going to find the Skrulls a new planet, and they never delivered. Okay, and they're the best friend Skrull gets killed trying to prove himself to the American president, because apparently he will give them amnesty and let them stay on Earth. The whole 1 million Skrulls. So we are not going to talk about the fact that the Guardians of the Galaxy, Nick Fury, Captain Marvel, no one could find a suitable empty bare planet for them to live on. I don't know. Since Thanos is dead, didn't he have a planet that was just a farm place?
Yeah, he did. I'm curious, to the 4 viewers, write down in the comments what you think of this show, if you've seen it, and let us know what you think.
Yeah, it looks like Maybot is kind of saying her thing. But yeah. So this show has made it official for me that Phase 5 of MCU is flailing about. My boy Jimmy.
This show sucked. Well, confirmations from Jimmy. I will not be watching this show.
Yeah. Maybot is saying that she gave up after the second episode.
Damn. Yeah.
I forced myself to watch each episode, and this is some bullshit.
Yeah, the fact that you guys barely talked about it, I was like, I'm not even gonna bother.
And Darcy watched it too, and he also agreed with me. Like the one of the things he said is like he sent a message to me saying like Olivia Colman, who's in the show, who I was trying to you guys to get to know. Olivia Colman, basically all her cool things were all the things that Nick Fury was capable of doing, but he just chose not to. Jimmy saying I watched the entire series like a bitch, and May's like I would rather watch Wonder Woman 2 each time per episode of Secret Invasion.
Damn, that's how bad it is.
It's that insulting. It's that insulting to Nick Fury and also to the viewers. Like, why would Rhodey be replaced in Civil War? Did no one bother to watch? Where was Kevin Feige's oversight? Like, this show had no oversight in terms of like, there's a dude whose job it is to keep like MCU timeline and like, making sure that everything is like on point. Where was he during this show? Did he get fired with Victoria Alonso?
I don't know, man. Too busy trying to find the cast members of Fantastic Four, I guess.
Oh, yeah. So before we get into that thing, Phase 5 is flailing. Ant-Man fucked up. I don't know what happened there, but Ant-Man fucked up. Now, Guardians was good, but to be fair, that was just James Gunn still doing James Gunn stuff. And Darcy even brought this up. It's like, that's just him doing his usual level of quality. Like, that's like immaterial to the MCU. So like, that doesn't really count as like a win for MCU specifically. It's just that they had someone on their side. But like, this was not a good opening for TV series. The Marvels, I'm very worried about because this show leads into the Marvels. And if they're going to be continuing off of what happened in Secret Invasion, I'm very concerned.
Wait, so I have to watch Secret Invasion before I watch the Marvels?
I told you everything you need to know, man. Anything else that you're confused about, I'll just whisper to you during the movie.
Got you.
And then we have Loki season 2.
I feel like they need, not that they would ever do this because it's a very intensive commitment, but like someone like so you know how like James Gunn right now he's going over to DC and he's like running the show at the of DCU.
Yeah,
I feel like they need someone like that, like the Russo brothers, for example. Imagine if the Russo brothers were on MCU in that regard, in that same capacity, and we're just running it the way. And I mean, this may be premature to say because we haven't actually seen what James Gunn has in store for the DCU yet. I mean, that could tank. Unlikely, but it could
I would say unlikely.
Yeah. Given his track record, but also the Russo brothers, given their track record, especially stuff that they've done outside of the MCU, I wouldn't mind. Like, I mean, again, I don't think they would ever do this because, I mean, as of my understanding, Kevin Feige runs the show, but it doesn't seem like he's really running shit right now. So if the Russo brothers were to come on board and take on the helm akin to that of what James Gunn is doing over at DCU, I think we would get more quality shit.
I completely agree.
Because I think the Russo brothers are on par with James Gunn. Obviously different styles, but in terms of the quality that they deliver, like, I mean, they gave us Infinity War, Endgame, they gave us Winter Soldier, right?
Yeah, and they also gave us Civil War.
There you go, right? So I think there needs to be some like reorganization, revamping, and like a shift of positions and the higher ups in order to have something like that happen, because it's everything seems very unorganized. Like they came in with a solid plan. I think they got overzealous. They started being like, oh yeah, people are eating this shit up. We got to just dish out as much content as we can right now in order to stay relevant. And I think now they're trying to pull it back. but they're still scrambling, trying to figure out, okay, like where do we go from here? Because everything is a mess right now.
And it doesn't help that so Jimmy was saying that I have faith in James Gunn, and I do. I think we all have faith in James Gunn. I agree with you, T. Like if because we have James Gunn and Peter Safran who are running the DCU. James Gunn is kind of like the content creator, the writer, the director, and like you trust him. And we have Peter Safran kind of in charge of the money business aspect of it. So he's like dealing with the potentially dealing with like the executives. We know that the Russo brothers can play ball with the studios. But if they're not going to be doing as much content creating and are instead going to be like running the show like James Gunn, and let Kevin Feige be the Peter Safran version of it, I think that would take a lot of pressure off of Kevin Feige for one thing. Also, I think ever since he lost like Victoria Alonso and also was being bullied by Bob Chapek to like push quantity over quality, I think Secret Invasion was like still members of Collateral Damage, which really does prove it. So if Secret Invasion is the last of the Chapek foul-ups, I will eventually get over it. But like, we need MCU to be tight-lipped. Like, if the Marvels doesn't do well, I'm like, in terms of like story-wise, I'm going to be really upset because I actually like. I know you guys are kind of. I know you're kind of like, kind of like meh about the Marvels, but I actually like how the Marvels is looking. And don't get me wrong, I got Ms. Marvel and oh my god, I forgot her name right now, but like the not Captain Marvel, but the other one.
Rambo?
Monica Rambeau. Yeah, I have those two as like fan favorites of mine. But I don't want that movie to suffer. I don't want Loki to suffer. And I don't want to have to wait until Deadpool 3 for things to start getting better.
Again, I hope you don't get your heart broken. All I'll say is, for that reason, I'm keeping my expectations super low, like immensely low, because I just feel going into like the Marvels and any other stuff that's coming along like on board, I don't have a whole lot of faith given the recent track record of the movies that we've been getting as of late. There's no vote of confidence that I have right now. So until they give me more consistent quality content that blows me away, or I go in and I'm like pleasantly surprised by it, I'm kind of going in neutral. Like, and again, I say neutral because regardless of whether it's good or bad, we've been spoiled. We've been spoiled, bro. Like we don't deserve the level of good quality content that we've gotten over the years, but we got them. We never thought we would.
Oh no! I believe we have put in the work. We are owed that quality because we drank shit for a long time in a desert.
I feel undeserving of it, but I'm grateful because I'm just like, damn, man, I never thought in all my lifetime I would see the amount of crazy shit that I've seen in these movies. Like we've gotten to a point where Michael Keaton fought a Kryptonian, bro. Like I never thought I would see that. Like Michael Keaton dropping a Kryptonian. Granted, in a mediocre film, but still, that was delightful to see.
And the worst part is we still have my boy Jimmy was telling me about this. Like Michael Keaton still has more Batman content out there that got shelved.
Yeah, that's disappointing. Because if that's the level that they were coming in with the Flash, man, I am. It hurts me that we will never see Michael Keaton in that level again. I mean, I say that, but secretly hoping that we do. Yeah. But I don't know. It's looking slim to none at this point. But we were this close to getting a Batman Beyond.
We may still.
But it won't be with Keaton, though.
No, I know. We might in the next 5 years.
I mean, he's getting up there, man.
He's okay. He's in 70s. As long as he can still act in his 80s and alive, I think that we can pull it off.
Yeah. I mean, one can only hope.
One can only hope. Okay, so moving on to our next topic, which are kind of some things that like Tactics was mentioning. We have recently, and I mean like in the last few days up until today, we have started getting some relatively confirmed but not fully confirmed casting rumors for the Fantastic Four. Now, from what we've been hearing, Vanessa Kirby has been cast as Sue Storm. Now, for those of you who don't know who she is, for those of you who are fans of The Crown, she was in the first 2 seasons of The Crown as Princess Margaret. For those of you who are like into Mission Impossible, she was in Mission Impossible in the last 2 films. So she's been cast as the Invisible Woman, Sue Storm. Since Adam Driver has been reported to officially been like just out of basically he turned down the role for Fantastic Four as Reed Richards. The current rumor is that Matt Smith has been offered. For those of you, Matt Smith, who don't know who Matt Smith was, he played one of the Doctors for a few years. He's currently filming, he's currently in the Game of Thrones prequel series, House of the Dragon, as Daemon Targaryen. And so like I find that to be an interesting choice, but I'm not against it. I've always ever seen him as like a douche, so that's why I find it kind of surprising that he's going to play a relatively good but intelligent individual. But yeah, so nonetheless, there's no confirmed on that. And then for Johnny Storm, oh my god, I'm blanking on his name right now. It's like he's from Stranger Things.
I can't help you, bro. I don't know.
Oh my god, I'm gonna look it up.
I can't.
Anyways,
figure it out.
So that dude from Stranger Things who was, could you look it up while I'm talking about it?
I mean, I could, but I'm not going to.
Why, bro? Right.
Moving on.
Hold on. Okay. Joseph Quinn.
There you go.
Way off. Joseph Quinn from Stranger Things is, I think, semi-rumored, semi-confirmed to be playing Johnny Storm. Good for him. I want him to get it. He was very unceremoniously murdered, killed in that show. I'm glad that he's going to be getting some level of like return to the screen. And this is still this has not been confirmed. This is still a rumor, but for The Thing, it is currently thought that Ebon Moss-Bachrach is going to be playing the voice of The Thing. I've also heard that Ryan Gosling has been rumored to be voicing Silver Surfer, but that is also unconfirmed. That could be just rumors. And what isn't a rumor is that the main villain for the Fantastic Four film will be Galactus. Okay, so we have a comment from Rai Fren saying Doctor Doom should have been the main villain in the Multiverse Saga. I'm not disagreeing with you on that one. I completely agree. I think if they decided to like wipe out Kang in Kang Dynasty, and the final secret war will be of Doctor Doom taking over and like taking it from there, I am fine with that. It does feel a bit of a letdown for the whole Kang buildup, but I don't care. I love Doctor Doom, and I doesn't sound like he's been cast in this movie, but in the Fantastic Four movie. But yeah, so T, do you know any of these actors?
I know the girl who's supposed to play Sue Storm.
Vanessa Kirby.
Yeah. I know the guy who plays Matt. What was his name? Matt
Smith.
Yeah, I know him. Don't know the others.
Please don't tell me from Morbius.
No, so okay, I'm familiar with the fact that I'm familiar with Doctor Who. I've never watched the show, but
I watched like a couple episodes.
I've only seen this guy in two things. Terminator Genesis. That's how it's spelt, bro. So that's how I say it. and Morbius.
Oh, so like
and
a fantastic actor. You've seen terrible movies of his.
Yeah, pretty much. So yeah, I'm not at all excited for his portrayal of Reed Richards.
So what would you say of the information you've gotten from the Fantastic Four? Are you interested by this or no?
So maybe this is sacrilegious in the comic book world, but
sacrilegious.
I'm not a crazy avid Fantastic Four fan. So I mean, I'm not sitting here checking for this movie and be like, yo, like when's that Fantastic Four movie coming out? Like,
okay, but are you against it?
I'm not against it. I mean, if it comes out and it's great, then awesome, cool. I mean, I like when the Michael B. Jordan version came out.
Oh God.
I was like, okay, this looks interesting. This looks pretty cool.
And then we watched it together for my birthday.
And granted, the first half was good. And then we just don't remember after it said 1 year later, we kind of lost a year of our lives in that amount of time.
What the fuck?
Yeah. That went downhill fast.
Yeah.
But
me personally, I'm excited with the news with Fantastic Four because I feel like this is going to be ushering a new age for the MCU. Also, like Fantastic Four and X-Men coming back to under the guise of MCU means that we're going to probably get some like the first two Fantastic Four movies sucked in my opinion. First one was less sucky than the second one, and X-Men has been a hit or miss. And so I kind of want to see. Well, I would have liked to see it when MCU was in its prime, not in its flailing style it is right now. But let's say hypothetically these four characters are going to be the characters of Sue Storm, Reed Richards, Johnny Storm, and Ben Grimm, aka Invisible Woman, Human Torch, Mr. Fantastic, and The Thing. I love all these actors. All four of them, I've seen them do good, solid acting. I've also seen them doing like shit movies, but like Matt Smith, he gained notoriety for his like gif of him dancing in Morbius. And like the Quaid kid killed it in Stranger Things. Vanessa Kirby, I think, is a very good actress, and I've seen her in some like indie movies as well. She's top notch. And Iban over here, he's been in like a whole bunch of things like in the background. Like he's been pretty consistently in movies, and I consider him to be a good actor. So I don't see a problem with these rumors. Ryan Gosling as Silver Surfer is interesting. Didn't see that coming. If it's true, that would be fascinating. But yeah, I still don't believe it. But yeah. All right. So moving on to our final topic, which T, I expect you to be like all prepped for.
Oh, I'm supposed to have slides for this? I'm just messing with you.
Yeah.
I'm messing with you.
All right. So I sent T a picture that Jimmy sent me, having to do with the ratings on Rotten Tomatoes of all the all the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films that have been out. And we also discussed in our last podcast how we both loved the original OG, which is what original stands for. Yeah, like our the TMNT film from back in the day. Now, this led me to think, how would we rate these films? So I have my rating. T, do you have yours?
I don't have mine off the top of my head yet. I'll have to think, but I'll let you go first.
Okay.
I mean, if you're ready, I mean, I could just bullshit my way through it.
All right. Okay. All right. So, including Mutant Mayhem, which we just saw last night, my top number one is the OG Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles from 1990. For me, that hasn't been bypassed yet. My second, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Mutant Mayhem. My third is going to be the TMNT animated movie from let me just check. From 2007. So the one in the middle that you have. After that, it's gonna have to be Turtles 2 Secret of the Ooze. After that, I'm going to say the TMNT movie from Michael Bay. Or like he didn't direct it, but like I just call it the Michael Bay one. From like 2014. I think that's from 2000. Yeah, from 2014. I feel
like your list is like exactly like mine.
Okay.
And we all know which one is last.
Yeah. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 3.
Interesting.
Is my second last. And my last one is Out of the Shadows.
Wow. I did not. Okay. So you threw me for a loop there. I did not think you were going to go that route. So mine is pretty much the same as yours, except for those last two. So, TMNT, and I'll give my reasons why. Let me.
Okay.
Just be. I mean, we gotta talk about these films, man. Like
we do, absolutely.
Like we can't just breeze on by this.
Okay.
I don't know if I said this on a podcast or if I said this off air, but this movie has and will always hold a special place in my heart. I watched this. Obviously, we all watched this as children, and this was, oh man, like even till this day, like I think I've said this before on air. I'll randomly just have a thought in my head about this movie.
Yep.
Like it'll be a line, or like if you and I are out and like we like a moment calls for it where we reference a line from the movie or whatever, and then I'll go back later on that day and I'll look up that scene with that line, and then it'll send me down a rabbit hole on YouTube because if you look, I think hopefully it's still on there, but you can watch the full movie in its entirety on YouTube. And I'll end up just going down a rabbit hole and watching the entire movie again and falling in love with it all over again because there's so much to love about this. And this is
like April.
Yeah, April was great. The turtle design was fantastic. Like you watch this as a kid and you're like, yo, these motherfuckers are real. Like they look real, bro. And this is kind of what, like, I know we'll probably never get a Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie quite like this because this is kind of like one of a kind.
They don't do practical effects like these anymore.
And that's the thing. That's kind of like, I understand why, because now CGI has kind of taken over and is dominating, but it just something about this. And the fact that these performers in these suits were able to do what they did in the movie, when it must have been ridiculously hot to not just be in the suit, but also to move around, do backflips, kick ass in this shit. Like it was phenomenal, man. Like, and even just watching
It's
it to this
so
day.
quotable. Like even now,
Yeah.
like when I order pizza,
Yeah, pizza
I'm like
dude's got 30 seconds.
30 seconds. Yeah.
Like it's great, man. You look like, honestly,
They're like and I'm still learning like stuff. Like for example, like my buddy Jimmy and I watched it one time with subtitles on, and like we found out that it was like 122 and an eighth, and I thought it was 122 and an eight.
That's
for like my entire life until like 2 years ago. That April really just hit.
Do you like her, or is she your favorite April, or do you
100%? 100%. Yeah, because like even the secondary April who ended up being in the 100, like I'm not gonna say she's not cute. Like she was cute, but like this April, like she stole my heart early on, and also her and Casey Jones, man, that just made sense.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. So yeah, like the first one is great. The fight scenes are fantastic.
They kill people. Like Shredder was dope in this.
Yeah, Shredder was very, very dope, very menacing. Yeah, just, and Splinter was amazing in this. Even though you don't get to see him fight, he comes off very wise, and it's like, this is what I would see as like you get the real father figure vibe from him, which was really, really genuine and pure, and I really like,
especially with Raph.
Oh, that scene, bro! I still tear up at that scene when he like Raph comes home after the movies, and like, oh man, that conversation.
And you get why Raph was so like unhinged afterwards.
Yeah, and there's just so much to love about that movie, man. And then we'll just keep it in order. Secret of the Ooze. This
this is when the studio was like, okay, so we gotta dial this back.
Pull it back, baby. Pull it back. And as a kid, I appreciated it. I loved it. I don't even think I questioned, hey, what happened to April? I'm just like, all right, I guess this is how they look now. Like, it just, and like Raph is just so chill now.
Leo doesn't use his swords.
No, like they don't.
He use batons.
It's like, yeah.
Mikey doesn't even use his nunchucks. He uses sausages.
Sausages, yeah, that was weird. I mean, there's still a lot to like about this one. It was more lighthearted, less dark. Mikey's still his lovable self, and like, he makes the movies like very, very funny and entertaining. Definitely a step down from the original, and it's because like butthurt parents complain, saying that the original was way too dark and everything. And I guess for its time,
I like Casey Jones straight up murdered somebody.
Yeah, 100%. And then like I remember like back in the day, saying the word damn was like considered a swear word, and now you hear bitch and ass in the MCU, and, and they had their first F word in Guardians of the Galaxy 3. So like that's how far we've come.
They had the first sex scene in Eternals.
Oh yeah, there you go. Right. So I mean, we've come a long way since damn.
Yeah.
But yeah, this one was fun. It just so this thing, like,
my god,
I think as a kid, this is the only thing that kind of upset me, because I was like, wait a minute, that's not Bebop and Rocksteady. Like, I was expecting that's what I wanted, but I heard it was like something to do with like the rights. They weren't able to get the rights to the characters, even though I think right around the time when this movie was being made, they had the toys of Bebop and Rocksteady made. Like that was related to the movie, but they just weren't allowed to use the actual likeness of them in the movie. But yeah, so there's that movie, and then of course they replaced April and whatnot, and then
Casey wasn't in it.
Casey wasn't in it, yeah.
And the donut scene.
Oh yeah, where they put the ice cubes.
I cannot believe how much I was into. Like, I loved eating donuts because of that scene. And then as I got older, I'm like, wait, so Shredder's just sitting there chilling while this is all happening?
Yeah, nothing made sense in that movie, but I mean, we didn't care as kids, man. And then we got this monstrosity, and this is the one that's last on my list. I'm sorry, but I can't go back and sit through this movie in its entirety. I can at least sit through a Michael Bay movie and enjoy myself, even though they're not great films. This is an insult. This is an
Okay.
absolute insult.
The only reason I didn't put it dead last is because nostalgia purposes. You're right. This is, like, critically speaking, this is dead last. But like, I still remember when I was old. Like, this movie, when did this movie come out? This came out like in 1993. So I was 9 when this movie came out.
This movie was terrible, bro.
Agreed. It was totally terrible. I still watched it like shit.
I don't even think I enjoyed it as a kid, bro.
Like, I watched it. I enjoyed it as a kid because like this is going back to what I was saying about I deserve quality now because we were in a desert and only had access to shitty ass water.
This is true. But
and this is the shitty ass water that I drank, and I was like, this is an oasis. And then I was found, I was saved, I was brought to the city, and someone gave me Brita water filter. And now I'm like, I deserve every ounce of Brita water filter I get because this shit was what I was drinking growing up.
We didn't deserve this, man. We did not deserve this.
No, we did not. But I still ate it up because that's all I had.
And like, they just look terrible, man.
Oh my god, dude! This actually looks. I haven't gone back and rewatched this. The beaks.
They look so bad. Like, they just got progressively worse over time.
Yeah. Oh my god. I actually haven't rewatched this since like.
I can't. I tried. Because
did you try?
Because after I went down that rabbit hole, I went and like watched Secret of the Ooze. That I like skimmed to like some of my favorite parts. But for the most part, I was able to get through most of the movie without skimming. This, I was just kind of like, I'm skipping everything, bro. Like, I'm just like, I just want to see how this ends. I just want to remember how it ends.
All right.
So
I will say, quality wise, this is a dead last for me, except I have
nostalgia.
Memories. Nostalgia is the only reason this thing is not dead last.
Yeah, no, I get it. And then we have this one.
This was a decent attempt. I will say this is a decent attempt.
Yeah. So okay, here's my thing. When I first watched this movie, I was not crazy about it, and I was a little bitter and apprehensive about watching it because I was not interested in watching an animated Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie. I wanted more of the live action. But I wanted a vast improvement on the third movie, but we never got it. So we just got this. And so I was like, I don't know, man. I'm not really vibing with the animated shit. So I didn't really give it a chance initially. And I watched it and I was like, okay, it's not bad. There's a lot of good stuff in here. But then years went on and it was kind of forgettable for me. Like,
100%.
I don't remember the villain. I went back and I watched it like as like an adult, and I enjoyed it. But again, like, if you were to ask me what the storyline is about, I'm like, I just remember monsters and like some ancient dude, and like that's about it. So the only thing that really stood out for me that I'll never forget, because I've just kind of wanted to see this, is the fight between Raph and Leo.
Yeah, I was gonna say, like, the thing I remember most is the fact that like Raph went like on a vigilante aspect, and like Leo was like straight up like the two of them were butting heads. So like,
yeah,
I love that aspect
because this one's supposed to take place like somewhere in between, I guess, Secret of the Ooze and the third one, if I'm remembering correctly, because
I thought it was independent.
No, I might be wrong, but I heard that it loosely ties into the original one of the original movies, and it takes place in between one of the three films. That's what I heard. I don't know if that's true.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Because I remember Leo in the movie, the storyline is that he goes away for training and he leaves his brothers, and that's what drives Raph to turn to vigilantism.
Yeah. Okay.
But yeah,
I enjoyed it when I watched it, but like I wasn't like it didn't stick, but it was a good attempt for me.
yeah. I mean, I didn't love it. I didn't hate it. It was kind of somewhere in the middle for me.
Right.
Yeah. Oh shit, I don't even have the Michael Bay images here. But okay, we'll briefly talk about the Michael Bay ones.
I say we just use them as one big
Yeah.
film.
Michael Bay ones, they were like the first one.
They look stupid. They look fucking stupid.
Agreed, 100%. They're just too busy. There's just too much going on. I even with the Mutant Mayhem, I'm not a big fan of the little like the added stuff, like the glasses. I mean, they toned it down in comparison to the Michael Bay thing because there's just so much stuff going on. Like
I look at that picture I'm like, what's happening right now? Like I will. Oh.
Again, it's one of those movies, like we were saying earlier, it has moments. Both of them. They have moments. The elevator scene. And the
Casey Jones scene. That
was the worst part of the movie. Casey Jones, fuck out of here. No, I'm talking about the mountain.
You're talking about the mountain thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool too. But no, I'm talking about the second movie, like the Casey Jones, like when they were like all like skateboarding and shit.
They were all skateboarding?
I've only seen the movie once.
I didn't like anything to do with Casey Jones.
Okay.
I like Stephen Amell. I'm like, that's not Casey Jones to me.
Stephen Amell, man, that guy needs a PR agent.
Yeah, that was a poor choice. That was a terrible choice for him. But yeah, so there was moments there. I liked seeing Bebop and Rocksteady. That was fun for me. I liked it. Because I'm like, this is the, and now granted, we get Bebop and Rocksteady in this, and I would have loved to see more of them, but from what we saw, far superior in comparison. But it was good. It was nice to just see them and like have the Turtles go toe to toe with them, because that's what I've been waiting for ever since the animated movies.
I didn't like the action sequences either, and I didn't like the history of like, oh, that they learned it from ninjutsu from a book.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of that either. I'm not a fan. Mikey is hilarious in this again, as he should be. I found him funny. I like.
The only thing I liked of him was MC Mikey.
Oh, the elevator scene. Yeah.
That's literally the highest point for these two films for me.
Yeah, again, they have moments, but it misses it where it lacks. Well, one of the main things is where it lacks is like the overall heart, and like none of these previous movies that we just discussed, with the exception of maybe the animated one, they don't feel like teenagers in any iteration of them. Like there's this like, I'm like, I don't believe these guys. Like Mikey maybe just because of how he acts, but all the other ones, they're like,
I would say he sounds like he's from college, really.
Fair, but like this one,
these guys are teenagers.
100% through and through. These guys are definitely full like teenagers. Yeah.
So we'll give a full review like next week, but like this was more than a good first attempt, and I would say predominantly it did stick a lot of its landings, and other things I just have personal biases against, like stories and decisions.
Yeah, I have small gripes with this, but overall I enjoyed myself. I had a good time throughout the entire film. It's not a long film, and it definitely doesn't feel long. I don't think any more needed to be added to make it more enjoyable. I thought it was the perfect length. Just some minor gripes here and there. It didn't necessarily make or break the film. It's just kind of things that I noticed that I just couldn't really let go of. Yeah.
But I'm 100%. I'm with you.
Yeah, but overall, I enjoyed it for what it was, and curious as to where this can go.
I am interested to see if there's going to be a sequel and what would happen in the sequel.
I mean, our theater was like dead. So I'm
This
like,
movie is, yeah, I'm a little surprised with how little attention this movie is getting.
I mean, it's. I don't think it helps that like it opened around the same time. Well, not the exact same time, but like with Barbie and Oppenheimer still being hot,
That's true.
like that. That's really gonna hurt it, I think.
I'm hoping that like it will pick up steam, kind of like what happened with Elemental, the latest Pixar film, because that was like like people, like word of mouth was like, oh, it's fine, and not a lot of people were watching it, but like over time, people like kept going to watch it later on.
Yeah, that is
and
true.
and so like I kind of hope that's what happens with this.
That is true. And usually with things like this, you can capitalize on it a lot with merchandising.
Yeah, and also with kids, because
Yeah.
well, now I think this is a little dark for kids, because like there were a couple of times like they straight up killed some people.
Yeah. Maybe not super young kids. Although we did have young kids in our theater.
Yeah, and also I think we were pretty young when we watched the very first.
Oh
Turtles
yeah,
movie.
100%, 100%. But I didn't find it that like. I mean, I guess at that time maybe it was considered like overly violent, but
I was
compared
also
to
watching
like
like Terminator when I was at that age too. So
yeah, that's true. That is true. That's definitely not a movie for kids.
yeah, so yeah, we definitely grew up at a different time.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, bro. I'm going to volley it back to you for our closing remarks.
All right. Well, this has been another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. Once again, we want to thank you guys for tuning in wherever you are, whether you're watching at home on YouTube or you're listening later on Spotify. We always appreciate the fans, the love, the comments, the support. So keep on supporting us because we actually need it, because we don't get a lot of viewership right now. We're hoping to grow the channel and eventually, who knows what'll happen. But until then, we appreciate you, whether it's few or many. We love y'all all the same. Thank you once again. Shout out to our boy Darcy, who couldn't join us on this podcast. Probably won't join us next week, but will be tuning in maybe next week or the week after. And he'll be back with us and rocking out with you guys. So until then, this has been another edition of the Geeky Bros Podcast. I'm your boy Tactics.
This is Big Geek Umar. Live long and prosper, y'all.
Bam, there it is. Boom.